It's another Wednesday, another stream. It didn't turn into winter like I thought it would, which is a great thing. I always prefer that. I'll take as much uh, time given that you get to do more outside when it's not crappy out. So, just give me one moment. All right. Hello. Let's go. All right. So this was last week. Um, there was a fair amount of concern. It was really stormy. I was not looking forward to the snow, aside from to show all you what this looks like when it happens. Luckily, it never actually snowed, because it really sucks when it does, because all the leaves are still on the trees. The weight of the snow will, excuse me, latch onto the leaves and pull the branches down, sometimes the whole tree down. And I feel like I should show at some point because I still have damage from the last October storm, and that was years and years ago at this point. So it's wild. Um, when the tree breaks, it doesn't just like crack. You can actually see that it buckles under the weight and like splits open from the middle, and sometimes just kind of like hangs there, dead. It's super fucked. Um, so yeah, just going through the motions here. Not a whole lot changed here. This section is kind of rough, and I feel like I have to start here, but nothing's changing here until I actually put forth the effort to change the front, which will likely come up with deer season coming up. Apologies again for this spot. Um, but this walkthrough is still important just to like get a better flavor for how many leaves have fallen and just how much fall has taken effect. Water running, still good to see, still great audio for it. Um, yeah. So it's been on my mind to like expand and move through some different spaces and like open up a little bit more. I like I liken to think about this as some sort of game, and it helps me with the work. So, for those of you who drive, sometimes it just really sucks when you make a wrong turn or you suddenly realize you need to get to the highway rather quickly, and you can't because these roads just run parallel. So, I've been thinking of like ways to section over because that's sometimes needed. So when I'm hauling all these sticks, it's great to have a cutover to the main road to haul them back up because there's just a lot of effort put into place. It can just be a lot of strain and effort to just bring up a couple sticks from all the way in the back, like as if I get to the very end and need to bring sticks forward. That's one of the few things that I acquiesce that I can use a power tool for because it's just moving stuff. But I still appreciate that I'm doing almost all of this by hand with power tool, well, not power tools, but like hand tools. Um, but there are other places and things that are just like nice spaces. Like I really love this tree that the raccoons and possums enjoy. And a friend really enjoyed this space back here that I work on a little bit in this past week. Um, I did a lot of work in the past week actually, so this is another one that's going to be lovely. Happy to hear it. Um, but back to gamifying this. So, um, thinking about spots in which I have to duck or utilize more energy to go around has been on my mind. Um, Spots where thorns and prickers would attack you, like it's keeping in mind like just how tricky that is, and like obviously I'm not cutting all of it down because I there's no way, but at the same time I'm not really interrupting the ecosystem. I'm following a lot of deer trails, so these are natural parts in the trees and everything. I'm just kind of expanding on them and widening them to like make actual paths that are easier to maneuver through. And it has like not exploded, but like the deer population's up in this area, so that's great to see. I'm seeing a lot more raccoon and possum droppings and leavings, so I'm really excited and happy about that. Um, I'm not thrilled with this area. I feel like I want to cut through over here more. Like I get way too close to the property line here, and I don't know. This space needs work, but again, it's all the way to the back, so it doesn't exactly have the highest priority in when I'm deciding to work on a space. But it happens. There's definitely times where I'm just going through and work with different spots. Recently, over here has been a big uh, project that I've been kind of clearing through. Actually, clear out that, which is nice. Um, so, coming through here, this has been good. uh, there's just a little space a little bit further. There's mushrooms, but I'm kind of just like moving quickly through this because it's raining. But um, the overall notion through here is that it's going pretty good. Happy to be working through this space. Um, yeah, it's, it's been good. I'm really trying to be on top of this stuff and making new paths and making it so I can get this stuff over. So yeah, that's what these piles are. Me getting stuff from in the woods out to this point so that I can get a wagon through here to collect it all and then bring it back to be processed and worked through. I've been thinking a lot about getting a wood chipper and doing stuff with the wood chips, using it as fill and whatnot. So not everything needs to get burned, and gives us something to do when the burning ban is in effect. Uh, because stuff like this is just constantly falling when you have a lot of forested land. So, like, even if I work the day before, sometimes there's a chance that there'll just be branches that large that are down. And that's just part of forests. They are constantly in motion. So, this bit right here, this giant pile of stuff, I worked through that this week. That was fun. I had a lot of different tanglings that needed to get cut and pulled and taken away. Also, I believe a tree branch actually fell into it. I can't see it because of this glob of water. But moreover, getting through into these spaces maneuvering, making a path out from the middle section coming up was important. Like that's already a path there. So it's more and more just me working through, getting to the different spaces, picking up the sticks that fall. And I feel like if this were any sort of game or whatever, that all of the satisfaction would just have to come from aesthetic and like not having stuff in the way. There's no way it would like score. Like, I don't know, maybe. It's just like number go up, make brain feel good. For picking up sticks or maneuvering different space. The interesting thing would be like it can't just be clear cutting because that would completely remove any kind of feel of like being in the woods, and I feel like that's ultra important to what I'm doing here. So I feel like there's a minimum threshold, and it probably would have to be like calculated with leaf cover. So like if you have a full canopy, that's still really aesthetically good and pleasing, but like too many sticks on the ground are probably bad. Dead stuff, even dead standing, is rough. I mean, it's okay to have some, and you're not going to get rid of all of it, but that's important for different ecosystems and wildlife and woodpeckers and whatnot. Even though I've had one aggressively attacking my house in the past couple weeks, it's still like there are other trees. You don't want to be burrowing into my house, leaving giant holes. That's not fun. And winterproofing continues, but I think that's really what I'm going for. Like I like portals like that. Like you have trees at the like different paths and whatnot, and it's kind of lined, but you could get through them if you if you so desired. Tried to put choose and desire together in one word there. That's fun. These arches, like having like a proximity to nature in which is still pleasing, whereas like sideways trees and other things that impede your way would be a negative. Like this is kind of a negative, but it's kind of positive because it's just so neat looking. It's so unique. So it's hard to really gauge on like what and where you want to cut or need to cut, especially with so much debris. So like step one, factor one is absolutely getting rid of the debris, getting rid of all of the dead stuff that's just like making a mess. It's actively like causing problems for other trees. The vines that are choking out the trees, the thorns and everything that are making it harder to get through. Um, any kind of blockages to creeks, that's important. Not really coming up currently, but it can. And it's interesting that it's part of nature, but we'll see how that goes. We'll see how that plays out because one of the main things that can block up stuff is leaves, and autumn is great for that. So I feel like that fairly well explains the model I'm going for when I'm renewing and changing these places and spaces. Like, not my idea to have the boards down, but it gives a very specific idea on like where your path is. Um, some of these bridges could get made better. That'd be better and more aesthetically pleasing. But it's not necessary. So I don't know, like I feel like um itchy, wet feet, and stunned are the status effect kind of things that I encounter. As you get itchy from the poison ivy and poison oak and everything, the different things that can grab at your feet will stun you because you'll fall over, and wet feet because you had to walk through the creek and all that. All right, so on to the second video. Let's get to this week. Bam. All right. As you can see, the leaf cover is aggressive. There is a lot. Like they're trying very hard to shed their leaves at this point. Uh, it's kind of a shame you can see the rim of my hat here, but whatever. I may have to cut that and manage that a little bit better, but it's no big deal. The leaves are nearly gone in a lot of trees, which is great. Getting very close to November, so it is important that all of this comes down. Bone's still doing bone things. I haven't cleaned them up yet because I forget about it. But as you can see, the creek is just inundated with leaves. Like there is so many leaves that are just taking over. Like I was saying. So it's interesting to see how that plays out. I wonder how that helps with insulation and the wildlife therein. Hopefully it helps them in some way. Big fan of peppermint coffee. All right, so most of that's been harvested, by the way. Like that's just one of those things where the solstice comes, or what is it? Equinox comes, and you harvest all the stuff that you want. I have a large container that filled. So basically, to harvest mint stuff like that, you just cut it off, hang it up somewhere. Nice big ball. So it works out really nice. It's like a bouquet of mint, and you just hang it upside down. And then when it's crunchy, you put all the crunchy bits into a container. Creek's still running, which is great, but you can see the like blockages are happening and doing their own thing. I want to minimize any kind of flooding because that sucks, especially going into winter. So I may come back through the creek and just work on that a little bit. Yeah, because I don't want to be walking through here during the winter and have it still be flooded. Because A, that leads to slipping or wet feet, which are two of the status effects that I do not like, do not want. I'm not going to remake this bridge right now. It's just, I need to make a more arcing kind of bridge. Not quite sure how to do that, but I'll get there. So, actually cleaned up this path. So this actually goes to a way that's passable now. Got more stuff out of here. So that's more up and away. This more just like creek being covered. But yeah, it has been just extremely nice. So I've been making the most of that. That's why I got so much done. Also kind of like was able to walk and talk with someone, so it was good to get through and really kind of just like take a walk back through the opposite way because you end up seeing different stuff such that you wouldn't going the same way all the time. That's so like gamey. I love it. I pulled on a branch, it wouldn't move, and I shook my head no. Like so animated. Like you would be instantly able to tell, like, no, you can't pull that. That's so good. Like I said, I worked on this space a little bit. It's a little bit cleaner now. Got a lot of the debris out of here. Still have good coverage. Um, yeah. So the more I think about the what I just talked through about like the gamification of this, like that branch should go because it impedes my way. There's a chance to just like walk into it, um, but it doesn't greater. It doesn't affect the overarching canopy. Whereas getting rid of a lot of this little stuff would do the same thing. And I feel like that's the trade off of being close to trees, enhancing the cover over time, and the desire to make it passable. So these are the different things that are at odds. So that's the fun and interesting aspects of what I'm trying to do. So the more unique thing about like doing this in real life as opposed to a game is the lack of inventory space. You have two hands. I mean, you could fashion some sort of backpack to carry sticks, but it would not work well. Like I've thought about it, and it's just these spaces are too thin to accommodate anything wide coming off of your back. You would just get stuck a lot, just a lot. um, So I do something here that's kind of interesting that like I try to like I mentioned in the previous one that I kind of want to go through here. But then when I do, this break. So now I'm kind of like stuck with this piece and it's just gonna get tucked right over here at the property line for now. So that way is a little bit nicer now and it didn't actually take care of that branch, but now it's further bordering property line stuff. So that's great. This is the last thing I want is someone to come onto this property and get hurt. Because the United States is really weird about the way people getting sued works. All the same, um, there are posted signs all around and whatnot, but it still sucks. So, like I was saying, I worked a bit in here, kind of proceeded to get some stuff done. I'm kind of hiding the reveal here because it looks so good, it's too natural. So we're gonna have to come through here. Enjoy the the breadth of this space. And as everything loses its leaves, it's so much easier to see just like through the spaces. You don't have as much interruption from the different little trees and whatnot. So you can see further, which is likely why hunting season works so well in this time of year. As you know, aside from it, post-coital nonsense for deer and whatnot, and it just works out that they can probably see more as there are less leaves. That's a piece of garbage that I pulled out of the forest at some point. But there's a better view of nice morning. Got sunrise over there, but you get a good view at like where the leaves are. It it blows my mind that other places don't have an autumn that's so robust with all the different coloration trees and just how that looks. But this is the only spot I've ever lived, so it kind of makes sense that it would be weird regardless. But yeah, over here, all that got moved and changed and fixed, and that's all gone. So that's great. I'm really happy about that. That's something that bothered me for a while, but like just going through there, you wouldn't recognize what's changed. Same with some of these spots here. So I've been thinking for a long time that I wanted to better path out some of these spaces. I like having a trail next to the creek. That's something I want to continue. Probably make that happen better on both sides, but then like when there's enough space to have another through lane, I absolutely should. Um, Obviously, different connectors and whatnot make sense. So here, this intersection, I come back to quite often because there's stuff to do over here, and I did. So there's a path this way. You could come through there, but this got cleared out and connected over to here. So this is fairly new space, but then coming back on the trail here, there's path that way and that way that we're going to explore. So, yeah, this comes all the way out now. So does this one. And those two are really close, and it just so happens that that's how that works out. Like I said, I'm mostly just trying to expand upon the realms and things. One moment. All right, sorry about that. I just got some mail. So, coming back through here, you get to see like this is part of that bridge, and I always wanted this to go somewhere, so I made it go somewhere. So, this comes back all the way through here and reverts back through here. So, yeah, that was a good project. I really enjoyed making that happen. So yeah, all these different paths exist now. You can go straight through here, which you couldn't before. Right here. That's great. 1 second. Sorry about that. Forgot something. So, yeah, coming back through here. Yeah, this space could use a little bit more work, and but this is new, as that whole way didn't exist before. Really happy to make this path exist, so you can just kind of walk straight through. Cleaned up that space. So yeah, I'm really proud of that. There was just a lot of effort that got put in this past week. I think it's pretty great. Really happy to have that kind of improvement. And it really just goes with that whole concept that I've been working with. So I'm going to try to keep that in mind more when I'm doing this, because I think aesthetically that's something I've been lacking, is a concept for how and why I'm taking different trees and branches and things out. And the more gamified it is, the more it makes sense, because rules and whatnot are nice to have for why we do the things we do. And when made properly and not arbitrarily, it should just naturally make things better to have rules. Whereas a lot of common rules and whatnot are just nonsense that someone came up with that don't actually work in the real world. And I tend to have issue with them, but not a whole lot you can do there. So, yeah. It's so wild how, like, even though I know where I am here, it could be very just discombobulating to like come through this, especially in fall, where you don't have such established paths. Like, you don't have the ground as a clue for um, how and where you can go. It's just kind of all over the place. That it becomes a lot clearer that where specific paths are and how they function. So that's neat in its own regard. Happy with that, because that just will give me more reason to follow some paths that I might not normally. So take that to your own life. Be sure to carve out paths that make sense for you. Make rules for your own game of life that are beneficial and not arbitrary. Just because other people do things a certain way doesn't mean you need to. All food is all food. You don't need to eat breakfast food at breakfast, stuff like that. Um, Make sure you're aware of the status effects in your life. Be sure that you're not exhausting yourself too often. Allow yourself rest. Be sure to get rid of things that are causing you different status effects. And be sure to make a space that you can exist in that gives you joy. So, with that, until next time, hope everyone has a healthy and lovely day, and I will see you next week. Till then. Yeah. All right. Take care of yourself. Be sure to check out the YouTube if you're on Twitch, and if you're on Twitch, if you're on YouTube, be sure to follow the Twitch. I really appreciate it, and try to do this stuff more and more. The more I think about it, like, it would be kind of interesting to, like, if I ever can't do this stuff, like, make a Minecraft or like different games and like follow some of the same concepts, and like, or remaking this space in a Minecraft or whatever would be really fantastic. So until next time, have a good one.